Okay, so it's early Saturday morning, North Devon coast or thereabouts. I'm riding a Suzuki V Strom 1050 XT. I'm a bit rusty about talking about bikes because it's been locked down and we've all gone mad. I've got the bike as part of a 3 bike test for motorcycle sport and leisure here in the UK. The idea being just to bring 3, I guess, relevant new machines together. The Motor Guzzi is my own bike. This bike, the Suzuki, is on loan from Suzuki for a few weeks, and they've got the Triumph coming in another week or so. The idea is just to see which suits who, what the merits of each are, and sort of see where we're at. The V Strom is always a bike I've been a huge fan of. It's a big underdog bike. It's always been better than maybe its sales figures would suggest, or the hype would suggest. I mean, everyone loved the Africa Twin, everyone rushed out and bought the Africa Twin, but I've always thought the V Strom, for most people as they ride mainly on the road, has always been a better bet. It's always just lacked a bit of showroom appeal. I think that's always been the problem with the V Strom. It's been very easy to walk past visually, and in terms of the specs, there's nothing to really shout about. I think it takes a long ride on one to get the point of it, and I think, quite honestly, most of the people who buy it are buying it because it's good value, and so it's been overlooked, certainly in media circles, in favour of more, I guess, glamorous machines, more performance-based machines. And it's a shame, because the V Strom has always been a good bike. The 1050 for this year, you know, you kind of looked at it and I thought, oh my word, is that the best you can do? Basically a re-skimming of the 1000cc bike. You know, we've got the same engine, just rebadged, so it's still 1037cc. Still 1037cc, power up by sort of 7 or 8 horsepower. They'd risen the peak torque up the rev range to about 6,000 RPM. Styling, they're giving it a bit of a glossing over and a bit of DR, Dr. Big influence styling. They're giving it the same Bosch Electrics package as a lot of other bikes, with the lean sensor ABS, and it's gone to ride-by-wire now, so you've got cruise control on this XT. So really it looked like a reskim. I don't know if you can see the view over there, but it's spectacular. Just looking down on Saunton Beach. Sorry, they've got a bit of a hedge in the way, but yeah, spectacular view. And so I can't say as I was overly excited about riding the 1050. I guess I was intrigued as to what changes it made, but I didn't think the changes had been many. I've had the bike a week, I've been out on it a good few long rides. And I've got to say, it's a transformation, which sounds quite a strong word for what they've done, and it's very hard to detect exactly what they have done, because they've been very coy about thank you. They have been very coy about exactly what they have done. They don't say they've done anything with the chassis, and they only say they've done tweaks to the engine. But the engine, to me, feels much stronger. It feels much more willing to rev, and is a more engaging, rewarding unit than it used to be. It used to be efficient, and it used to be torquey and grunty, and capable of hauling you a long distance with relative ease, but it never was very exciting. It was always an engine that I used to short shift on. There was no point really taking it above 4,000 RPM, just because there was no reward there. And I've done about 12,000 miles on V Strom 1000s over the years, so I kind of feel like I've got a good feel of that bike. And as I say, I always liked it, but would I ever have bought one with my own money? And I guess that was the question. And the large point in that is just because the engine, it was grunty but never exciting. This 1050, just from a new few internals and an ECU and other bits and bobs of making it Euro 5 compliant, it's just a different engine. It's still grunty low down, it still effortlessly picks up and delivers good smooth torque, but now there's you can feel like there's a rush in the mid-range and to the top end, and so it's a far more invigorating ride. I'm riding this one far more spirited than the old one. The old one, you know, you're kind of happy just to let it go, to relax. Whereas this one, it just wants to rev, it wants to hurry, it wants to scurry, it wants to chase. And therefore, The engine to me is a transformation, and I think it now becomes one of its strongest points. They've also done an amazing job with the fuel in low down. I don't know if that's to do with the ride-by-wire or Euro 5 or whatever, but there used to be a real glitchiness on and off the throttle at low revs on the V Strom, which you could learn to ride around with a bit of clutch control or just knowing the nuances of the bike. But sometimes you could, the revs would drop off and it'd almost like the engine had shut down, and it was sometimes difficult to ride smooth, especially if you were new to it. And this one is just a transformation. There's a beautifully smooth on pickup. It's beautifully smooth around town. You've got a light clutch, very deft controls with the throttle and clutch, and it's just an easy bike. It's just an easy bike to ride. So I think from an engine point of view, it's a revelation, which I never thought I'd ever say. From a handling point of view, again, like the subtleties of what they've done must be so small as almost not to make the press pack, and yet it handles like a different machine and feels like a different machine, even just then coming out that junction. I don't know whether they've made the bars wider or it's an issue of the risers, but you've got a lot more slow speed control and finesse and feel and ease to move the bike around. On paper the bike's gone up in weight to sort of like 254 or something along those lines, so it's actually gone up in weight, but at low speed it feels lighter and easy to manoeuvre than it ever has done. And I think that's a really good trick, and I'd actually like to know what they've done, even though they've been very coy about how they've done it, because it's just easy. The cleaner pickup of the fueling with the light clutch and the easy steering just make it such an easy town bike. And the weight, I don't know where the extra 10 or 12 kilos is being carried, but it certainly doesn't feel like it's carrying more weight. And in terms of handling it, it's just more dynamically engaging. I don't think they've done anything to the suspension, or so they claim. They've not done anything to the chassis, or so they claim, but it just, like the engine, feels more dynamically engaging. So does the chassis. I know they've changed tyres to the Bridgestone Adventures, and I don't know if that's just helping sort of the rolling and the attitude of the bike, but it feels more sporty. And I think that's a good thing. It's a bike that would excite you now on a test ride, whereas the old one didn't. The old one would excite you on a 5,000 mile trip when you got to the end of it and went, wow, that bike's really good. It didn't shout at me or anything, but it was just really good and it did the job. Whereas this one, like there, just the pickup, like the cleanness and the strength of the pickup is far more exhilarating than it ever was, and I don't think that's no bad thing. Another great thing for this year, which I've not seen as mentioned as much as I think it should have been in the press reports, is the screen. The screen on the old one was terrible. The wing mirrors were terrible. You got an awful buffeting around your helmet, and I get tinnitus and I have to wear earplugs. Like, I've been out on this one, I've not had earplugs, and I've got an adventure helmet and I've got the visor up, and I've got no buffeting, no booming, no earache. And I think that's a really nice transformation, because now it's made it so much better and easier for touring. You don't have to go out and buy a Givey airflow screen, and you don't have to change the mirrors. You can just ride it. People have criticised the fact that the adjustment for the screen is on the outside. Okay, maybe that's slightly annoying, but you know, like, once you set your screen, is it really something that you're going to keep changing on the move? I don't personally think it is. I think that's just nitpicking, because the actual mechanism itself is so easy. It's just lift the lever, slide it up and down, and push the lever down. I mean, it's as easy as you can get. Other nice things that they've done to it, I think the indicators are much better designed. I think the styling's much better. I think the fact that the XT's got a 12 volt charger under the seat's a nice touch, so you can charge 2 appliances as you ride, because you've got one up here as well. I think the crash bars for this that are standard on the XT are far more subtle than on the other ones. The only shame is that if you want the optional extra bash plate, then you have to switch to those big butterfly wing ungainly side engine guards. which I think ruined the look of this new one a bit. I think if you're looking for negatives, you don't have to look any further than the clocks. I think, you know, it's a big disappointment in terms of TFT screens that we've got like a Casio instrument from the 1980s. You know, Suzuki could have done better with that, I think, and it's obviously a reflection of the price tag that they're aiming for. How much extra it would have costed to put a full colour screen in, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it would have been worth the extra 50 quid or 100 quid. The price of the bike is 11,495 for the XT. The non-XT is, I think, just over 10,000, but already you're seeing some amazing deals. I saw one online, 200 mile delivery miles on a standard bike, and I think it was 8,000 or 8,1. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of bike for the money. I think, to me, the XT makes a lot more sense, just because you've got the adjustable screen, the cruise control, the lean sensor ABS, LED indicators, the charger under the seat, the center stand as standard. You don't get heated grips as standard, but you get lots of nice things as standard. I think probably where Suzuki's made a bit of a mistake is not realizing that a lot of their customers don't want the wire wheels because they're a pain in the arse to clean, especially these ones, although they are tubeless, which is a great feature of the wire wheels on the V Strom. But I think a lot of owners want the easy cleaning aspect of a cast wheel, but they also want the niceties of cruise control and a center stand and things. So I think they've really missed a trick by not doing a sort of a GT pack where it's the XT's niceties but with the standard bikes cast wheels. I did read on the owners forum that somebody had asked and Suzuki had changed the wheels of the XT to cast for them, so you can do that, but I think, you know, that's only something you discover once you realise you really want to buy a V Strom. I think they need to be saying to people in the first instance that this is what you could have. So that's it. It's a bit of a quick review. I think the V Strom has just got better this year, and it's a bike I'd actually now consider buying with my own money. Previously I've always really liked it, but just would never have bought one, and I know that probably sounds a bit harsh, and if any V Strom owners are out there are thinking I'm a knob for saying that, I do apologise, but £10,000 is a lot of money, and I would always have struggled to invest it in a V Strom. I would probably have bought a second-hand one for £6,000 instead. But this new one, I think it's light and day. I just wish I got better light because I can't see anything right into the sun. I think it's day and night better. I see on the forums the existing owners of the old one talking about the look of the new one. Some people don't like it, they think it's too adventure-y, styly, and they also criticise the seat. They say it's going to be uncomfortable because it's a thinner pad and it's slimmer, and I would say, having been out on the bike a good few hours the other day, yeah, maybe the seat's not what it was, and that could be a bit of a shame, and could be, you know, I use a cool cover on my bikes, they work, and so I think it's something that people might have to remedy, either a sheepskin or a cool cover. And I can see the difficulty for Suzuki is they had to inject some excitement into the V Strom. They had to get new customers, and I think it's a great time to do it, because people are going to want good value bikes, I think. And so I think, oh wait a minute, let's go to, I think it's this one. I'm trying to find a back lane. I want to do a bit of green laning just so I can tell you what it's like, and I'm trying to find a back lane. And so I think Suzuki have been caught between a rock and a hard place. They want to attract new customers, but they don't want to alienate the old one. But potentially some of the changes they've made to the 1050 do alienate the older customer, who probably saw the V Strom more as a touring bike rather than as an adventure bike. And I can see the disgruntlement there. I think this is something Suzuki had to do, but possibly, as I said, a GT version, maybe with a comfy bench seat and cast wheels, would have been a good way to go. I think I've taken the wrong turn. I'm going to start again when I find the green lane. Cheers. Okay, so I found it. Just lost my bearings a second. So this is a great lane because I think it's representative of the type of trail that most people are ever going to do on their adventure bikes. It could be an access lane to a farm, or you know, the road's closed. As when we did the Bulgaria trip last year, there was a stretch of road in Montenegro that was closed, and we had to do about 20 miles of a sort of a detour route, and it was like this. And so it's a good test of a bike. The V Strom's never been sold really as an off-roader, and I think it's a trap that a lot of the manufacturers get into. They try and make a bike for everyone, and the reality is not. I think 90% of adventure riders aren't going to ride their adventure bike off-road. And to be honest, riding this V Strom now, without making any changes to it, it's just not in its natural environment really. It is interesting. It's more of a cramped position than I remember, so that might suggest some of the changes to maybe the handlebar position and other things that I thought. The handlebars seem a bit closer to me and lower down. The foot pegs feel in a slightly different position, although they've got the rubbers in. So I'm in a little bit of a hunch position. You could change this by rolling the bars forward and obviously removing the rubber inserts. To make a more comfortable riding position. I mean, visibility is a bit slippy. This is where I drop it and have to take Suzuki a damaged press bike back, which is never a good idea. Not very good for a freelance journalist career. But you know what? You know, it's a good down here, no problems. You know, and you could do some things to make it go down here a bit quicker. You could put some knobbly tyres on and obviously change your riding position. And a company called Hessler do some uprated suspension to make it, give it more travel and more control in the dirt. But you know what? I think it's all right. It's all right. I don't feel overly comfortable, but I don't feel like I'm crapping myself either. It is a bit wet and slormy, so I'm obviously just taking it steady. I'm actually even going to sit down, which I'd never normally do, but the V Strom is encouraging me to sit. It's just a light. The early morning shadows are playing havoc, and we've got a wet ground and a bit of off camber. But yeah, it's alright. I mean, the throttle input's soft and gentle, which helps on these kind of conditions. Yeah, so you're not going to snatch and get yourself into trouble. The engine, as I say, the fueling's really good, so you can pick your lines slowly. Yeah, I think that's about all there is to say for off-roading on the V Strom. I.e., don't bother. If you really want to go off-roading, get a V Strom and then buy a CRF 250L or something like that you don't care whether you drop or scratch or damage, and also one that's not going to break your leg when you fall off it. The manufacturers at the minute are doing a great job of suggesting that the mere mortal can power these 1000cc machines around the dirt roads, and I think a few people are having accidents as a result. So I did come down this road on the Guzzi. I would say, you know, they're very similar in how they perform in these conditions. Maybe the Suzuki, the Guzzi's got a bit better balance with it being a lower slung engine, and I think it maybe got a bit more travel and a little bit more suppleness, but it's kind of splitting hairs really. You wouldn't say neither of them love it. I mean, really, this was a bad idea, I've got to be honest. Stupid idea. Yeah, the bars are definitely different for this year. They feel more slung back towards you. As they've got more of a bend in them. It really is quite an ungainly riding position. Standing position even. Bumpy. But if you were going around Kazakhstan or through Kazakhstan or Mongolia, I still wouldn't take a V Strom 1000 in fairness. I'd still take my Himalayan. And that's where, you know, that's where when it comes down to it, you can't beat a lighter bike that's easier to manage for this kind of terrain. Especially imagine if you were packed up, fully loaded, and you were trying to come down here, and you didn't. I mean, I know this lane, so it's not too bad. But imagine you were coming down here, you'd never been down this lane before, you didn't know where it went. You got 40 kilos of luggage on back. You'd be absolutely crapping yourself. Oh, that's better. I can actually see now. I put my visor up. Beautiful view though. Beautiful morning. I just felt like getting up and going for a little ride. Ooh. Yeah, it's just sketchy. It's just sketchy. You've got just no. Let's park up. Okay, so there we are, V Strom 1050 XT. I think it's a much improved bike, really. I really do. I think visually, I look at it and go, oh, that looks cool. You know, it looks better, it's more desirable. I think I actually even like yellow. I don't know if, you know, yellow's a bit stronger. I know the red and white one looks nice. But I think you've got a better visual look, it's neater, you've got better finish. I mean, you've got terrible handguards, unfortunately, they're probably the worst handguards. This is the screen adjustment there. As I say, it's on the wrong side, but actually it's really easy to use. And once you've set it, that'll do, mate. Let's just turn that off. I think they've redesigned this, so you've got the new engine guards. I mean, you're still very exposed. You've got an exposed header, oil filter, and under there, I don't know if you can see, but basically without a belly pan, if you hit anything low, you just crush your exhaust. You got removable inserts on the pegs, which is quite a nice touch actually. They've done away with that horrible exhaust valve that used to be there, that used to foul up. I don't know how they've remedied whatever it used to do. They must have done something, or they've not moved it. It looks like they've removed it. I mean, the exhaust is still pretty ungainly, but you know, modern age. I've got a Scorpion can at home. I might bolt on before it goes back just to see what that looks like. As I say, you've got the twin step seat, which is height adjustable now, which is a nice little touch. I think even the redesign of the wing mirrors is quite nice. You know, they're far more stylized than they used to be. They used to be a horrible sort of whatever they used to have in the parts bin type wing mirrors. I think they were the same wing mirrors I had on a Suzuki Freewind from 1998 or something. The controls are nice, very easy to use. Cruise control, very easy to use. You've got throttle settings, so you can do sort of a gentle, medium, aggressive throttle, and that's all very easy to do. I think they've laid it out really nicely. I was talking to Lel Paver yesterday, and we were saying how the Africa Twin has got, you know, buttons galore and very difficult to figure out, whereas this is pretty intuitive. I can't think there's anything much else to say really, other than I think well done Suzuki. It's clear that Suzuki don't have the development costs or budget or the appetite like some of the other manufacturers do. You know, they really could do with a new engine. This is the same one that's been in the TL1000 back in 1995 when that came out. You know, so really we've got a 25-year-old engine, but actually that doesn't matter because it's still a really nice engine. You just kind of think, you know, at some point something's got to give and something new's got to come along. The shame always with the V Strom for me is that I think there is potential in this engine and this chassis to do a proper Africa Twin alternative, 21-inch front, 18-inch rear, better ground clearance. And I can see from Suzuki's point of view, would anybody buy it? I don't know, but it would certainly grab some really good headline figures. And I think he's Swedish, Hessler, he made a 21-18 kit for the old one, and it just, you know, it transformed the bike. Whether somebody like Suzuki would go down the route of doing that, probably not. I mean, this is they've stretched themselves with this, but obviously it's not too far removed from what they started. I've contradicted myself there though, because it's almost the same bike as the 1000, and yet it's a different bike entirely. And I don't quite know how they've done it. But yeah, there we go. V Strom 1050. I think it's a really nice bike, better than ever. Definitely worth trying. Yeah, give it a go. Cheers.